Hello, my name is Helen Beckett. I'm the Community Manager at the Business Value Exchange, and today I have with me Eben Upton. Eben is the Technical Director at Broadcom. That's the semiconductor manufacturer that specializes in wireless. And more famously, Eben, you are the inventor and co-founder of the Raspberry Pi. And just for those who don't know, Raspberry Pi is a bare-bones computer that is used by schools to help children to learn how to code. Have I got that right, Eben?
That sounds absolutely right. Great to be here.
Hi. We've been talking quite a bit about digital literacy on the Business Value Exchange recently, mostly about the return to both the individual and the corporation. And obviously, you're an activist in this area, and with some strong views on what are the skills exactly that the new economy needs and how to deliver them. So, first of all, can you just kick off by saying what is it you think is needed today by our country?
So we talk a lot about the importance of giving every child a little experience at school, at school age, of programming computers. We think this is incredibly valuable. I mean, obviously, sort of trivially, this is valuable if the child is going to go on into a technical career, into a computing technical career, whether that's a hardware career or a software career. I think we've come to believe that more generally the skills that you learn by programming computers are skills which are generally applicable. We sometimes call this computational thinking. The idea of analyzing large problems, breaking them down into smaller problems, and then assembling the solutions to those smaller problems into a solution to the bigger problem. And there are lots of ways to learn this. There are many ways to teach children that skill set. But we do believe that computer programming is one of the best ways of doing it. It's certainly one of the most time and cost-effective ways of doing it.
It sounds like you're saying that the computational thinking, the academic discipline of that, is perhaps more valuable than the next new job title, which is data scientist.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there is if you have those skills, then if you become a doctor or a lawyer, an accountant, a manager, I think we're going to tell you that programming computers is going to make you a better novelist. But we think for a very broad range of occupations, those skills will stand you in incredibly good stead. This is absolutely not about trying to create a country full of computer programmers. As it happens, we do need more computer programmers than we have. We need more qualified engineers than we have. That's almost certainly always going to be the case. But it's that general applicability that sort of justifies the very broad targets that we have for reaching children.
And as you say, I mean, there is a skill shortage in the UK and worldwide. I mean, our digital economy is going to contribute 10% to GDP, everyone says, by 2016. What impact so far have you seen the Raspberry Pi making in school level education?
So I think this is always going to be a slow burn. One of the wonderful things at the moment is that when we started doing Raspberry Pi back in sort of about 2006, we really felt we were kind of a voice in the wilderness. We were the people. There weren't a lot of people talking about this. A great thing that's happened not because of Raspberry Pi, but while we've been doing Raspberry Pi, is the growth of a greater awareness in industry, great awareness in government of what the potential economic impacts, what the potential business impacts of a shortage of engineers. I'm involved in my professional life in trying to find recruits to come and do engineering. It is enormously difficult. Anyone who tells you that there is not a skills shortage in computing and engineering is lying. It's simply not true. You certainly can find people who will describe themselves as being engineers or describe themselves as being computer programmers, but genuinely skilled staff in this area are like gold dust right now. And that's the situation. Yes, sometimes I wonder why I'm doing this, right? Because I'm kind of undermining my own value proposition. It is, in the long run, it's a disaster for industry, for the key employees they need to make progress to be that rare.
I mean, there are a few kind of events, digital disruptors happening that may contribute towards this, plugging the gap, as you like. Things like MOOCs, the massively open online courses, free e-learning platforms. Do you see them as playing a role as well?
Absolutely. I think that one of the enormous challenges here is teacher training. There's an enormous challenge here. We have a fantastic new curriculum coming in September of this year, but there's a real need to kind of upskill, and there's enormous demand from teachers to have the training they need to deliver that curriculum effectively. MOOCs provide both a mechanism for delivering some of that training. We run a MOOC platform with Cambridge Assessment, and it's what's interesting is how many of the people using that platform are teachers looking to acquire the skills they need to deliver traditional face-to-face classroom education in September of this year. But we also think MOOCs, they have a part to play in reaching people who don't have access to trained teaching. And they also provide trained teachers with an opportunity to experiment with more, with kind of innovative ways of structuring the classroom, what's sometimes called the flipped classroom, where you go and effectively you set your students, rather than having your students sit in class and listen, sort of have a one-to-many communication in class. What you do is you set your class the task of basically going and doing the learning beforehand, and then you can then use some of that classroom time, which is obviously incredibly precious, as an opportunity to sort of deal with questions that the children have. And MOOCs are, they're one way of doing that. So we see them as a kind of a support mechanism for traditional teaching rather than something that's going to supplant it.
So you've described in this conversation a few measures such as MOOCs and Raspberry Pi, which can help bridge the disconnect really between education and industry. Is there any final thought you might leave us with on that disconnect and how to heal it?
I guess I'm incredibly optimistic. I think that we actually now have all of the tools. So we sometimes look back to the 1980s as this kind of golden era of computing education in the UK. Of course, I had a computer in the 1980s. I had to learn everything myself. I had no formal teaching at school. Because this was pre the general availability of the internet, pre the World Wide Web. I used to use the interlibrary loan system to go and get books about computer programming. Right, we are in this amazing, wonderful environment. Particularly now, we have tools like Raspberry Pi. We have tools like Raspberry Pi. We have tools like MOOCs. We have an amazing availability of online documentation and online support, fora where you can go and discuss programming problems you're having. So I think we actually have, for the first time, the kind of toolbox we need. And I'm really optimistic. I think, I hope to be looking back on this from 2020 and seeing that, this period from maybe 2012 to 2015 was the point where we really turned it around and started to make a difference.
Wow, that's a great thought to leave us with. Many thanks, Eben Upton, today for sharing your thoughts and hope about digital literacy. Thanks.
Thank you very much.